Hello there, I'm CyberX with Outlandishly Crafted, and I'm a Minecraft add-on developer, and I would like to show you today how to make block texture variants. So that instead of having one texture for each block, like glass or stone or bark or leaves, look at all those pretty leaves. They'll all be different. You can have as many as you want. You just keep putting them in there. You can do different flowers, so you have all kinds of different plants. You could have all kinds of different things. And so today we're gonna show off how to have block variants, and this applies to any of the blocks. So this could be flowers or pretty much anything that classifies as a block. So you can see here I have hordes of different grass. So I've got some with flowers, some without flowers. I've got dirt cracked. I've got dirt with some little flowers in it. You could also do this for your minerals. You could do this for the snow. You could do it for pretty much everything you want. So let's get started. And here, right off the bat, is what it looks like in my folder. You can see I have just clay, and I have 8 of them. You can see dirt, and I've got 17 of them. You can see grass path, and so on and so on. Even with the mycelium, I added a whole bunch of fun mycelium in for that type of stuff, the sand and all of those. So that's what it looks like. I've got it in its own folder. It doesn't have to be in blocks. You could put it in, I put them in room sets. So each of my different room sets can have its own set of different stuff. So you can keep them separated. It just makes it easier. So here's dead leaves, here's leaves, here's, oh, those are all the leaves for all the different ones. And that's how I put them in my folder. So let's look how do we do this in the code? So a few things we need to talk about right off the bat is you need 2 files. You need a blocks, and this is in your RP, your resource pack. So we have a blocks.json and we have a terrain texture, and you can get those from the vanilla pack. They're in there. So here's blocks and here's terrain textures. You can get those out of vanilla and just copy them over if you want. Take the whole file, and then that way you can modify all of them that are in there if you're going to do them all. If you want to just do a few, you can just do the few that you're going to modify. So let's explain a few things really quick. Let's look at the grass block. The grass block has a top, a side, a bottom, and a top. So you can see that the north uses the top, the up uses the top, the side is a side, and the down is a bottom. And so those are the things that we would define over here in terrain textures. So terrain textures has all of the different variants that you want to define are right here. So we have grass side, and we go into grass side, and in grass side we have all of these different variants. Now it's very important, let's make these words right. So sorry, excuse me. So textures, these are variants, but we're going to mix these words up a lot. So the textures have a variant for each area the grass side is used. So the grass side might be used in a fall area, the spring area, you know, and then it has they'll just put in normally in vanilla, they would just put in a color filter. So they would add in on one of these an overlay color. So they would say for fall it'd have an overlay color of yellow, changing the grass to more yellowish. So you need to understand that when you're putting in variants, you're not just going to come in here and make these the variants. These are already all applied to specific areas. So if you only had one of these and not the others, you wouldn't cover all of the other parts of the Minecraft logic in the world, because there's a lot of color shading for different areas. They still use the same texture, they just shade it differently. So instead, what you're going to do is each of these is associated with a biome, and inside that, you're going to add this variation tag. And then inside the variation tag, you're going to call each of your variants for that biome. So grass in this biome can use this, which also means you can not only put grass variants for the whole game, but you could also do it per biome. So if you wanted to have an entirely different grass in a different biome, then you could. You could have a whole different color, a whole different texture. You could have 20 of them over there as you want. So here we go. We have all of our, this is grass path, and I'm putting the path on the side because I like how it looks, but you can do that however you want. And then we weight it. So we say most of the time I want ground 16 to play. So we go back over here and we find inside room sets, ground, and we find ground 16. So ground 16 is just a plain grass texture. So most of the time I want this to play. And then some of the time I want it to scatter these out so that we get this effect where we're not getting static stuff on the sides. And you can see how much better the hillside looks with grass on the side. It always displeases me that they put open dirt on the edges when it should be grass. I mean, most grass hills roam. They don't just cut off. So you can see where it does cut off, that's fine. That's perfect. You could even put rock face there if you wanted to look even cooler. But yeah, so now you can see most of the time we're getting that same solid grass effect, and then some of the time we're getting this effect or this texture. And the same thing with all of these. So most of the time I'm going to let it be one thing or two or three things, and then we'll throw in on the side the other ones. Now, same thing with the leaves. I want most of the time for the leaves to be the normal leaf, and then some of the time I want there to be these dead leaves, because Minecraft is the only universe without decay. Like, every tree is perfectly healthy. Every plant is perfectly healthy. There's no dirt, there's no grime, there's no footsteps, there's nothing to make the world dirty and grimy and feel like it's alive. And so just adding in these blocks that give you the chance to get a dead plant or dead branch once in a while adds a lot of effect to how your trees look and how your biomes look. So that's really the basics of what you're doing. Now you can repeat the same thing over and over and over for all of the different stuff that you want to do. So we have leaves. Now keep in mind, same thing applies, that there's different types of leaves. You don't want to put the variant right here at textures. You want to have this list, and then in the list, this is all of the different types of leaves that there are, so that you can still keep the oak leaves versus all of the others, so that they're not all looking the same, so all the trees aren't all the same in all the areas. You can also still then go in and add that overlay color so that you get a variation of color in some biomes versus others. You could apply that to water. You could apply that to sand. You can apply that to clay. Anything that's a block can have variance. So even a a work table, like I mean, you could do water lilies, you could do the jukebox, you could do literally anything that's in here. The plants, the kelp, fire. Now the things that are animated, you would make an atlas, and I'll do another guide for how to make animated blocks and atlases. But you can see very quickly how powerful this can be. Let me show you that lynching really quick, so you kind of get an idea of how fun you can make that. Now you can also Oh, goodness. I've been using a different editor, and all the buttons are different. So if we take our Lynchian, did I not spell that right? What was it? Oh, it's glow. Glow. The glow Lynchian. So we take this Lynchian, and now we could add it and have a whole bunch of different colors, and these glow. So you'd have some glow to them, and then that gives them that pop when you're underground or in a with the dirt behind them, or you're mining and you come across these cool blocks. It also gives you some variety when you're mining to make it a little harder to find stuff. So I think it's too easy a lot of times to identify what things look like. And so one of the things you can do is do the same thing with all of your resources. So let's take diamonds. So we have deep slate and we have diamond ore. And so this is the deep slate ore, and you can have same thing. You can have all of those varieties. Let's actually switch to a different world because I think I already have these set up really quick, and I'll show you the last of these and then we'll jump out. Let's see, we've got block test, I think. This makes it really nice so you can really change up. I think the ores is a really basic one. Changing up what the ores look like and having a lot of variety. Adding stuff like fool's gold to where there's fake gold as well, so that there's a challenge to the process, I think really changes the dynamic. So you can see here how well the seamless and how these blend together. You can blend in the rock. This also helps you not have to do, a lot of times people will take a whole bunch of different blocks to try to make the pathing look smooth or look correct with variations, and now you can just have the variations built in so that you don't have to worry about it. So here you can see there's a whole bunch of variants, or a few variants, so that the brick formations don't look the same and they don't start to have that repetitive feel. So you're breaking out the repetitiveness. So here you can see in deep slate all of our different things. So there's copper, there's gold, there's diamond ore, there's emeralds, there's iron ore, there's redstone. And so I can play with all of these to make them what I want and have them have some variety. So you can see on this one, it's nice and big, but on this one, it's kind of small. And same thing with all of these. You can see all of the different variants of the coals, and then and you still have your effects. Like the effects still work. So you see, I changed the redstone effect to be more detailed, but all of the same things still apply. And you could do this in pixelated or non-pixelated, it doesn't really matter. Now, one of the things you should know is see how all of them are together. One of the settings you can change is called isolation, and isolation causes the block to flip. So in the case where you have low tech and you don't have a lot of variation, sometimes you might flip the block or rotate it so that it would add more variety. You don't want to do that in a lot of these cases because that's going to cause the beautiful seamless texturing that you're building to break. And so you would just come in and say isolation false on none of my leaves do I want those to rotate. I want them all to be the same. So I do isolation false. And then same thing with you could break it up to where I said that wrong. Isotropic is per face. So you could say it's false on the up, it's false on the side, but it's true on the other parts of it. So on the bottom it's true, or whatever you want. So that gives you some options and ability there to tweak those and really make everything you're doing pop and have so much more variety than what you're doing now. And I think this is one of those missing things that we really need more of in the game. Now, you can see this is something I'll just throw out there as a bonus tip. You can see the frame rate just crashed, like just totally died. And the reason for that is if you're doing HD textures and you change out one of these so this is fine. And this might not apply to you in most cases, but I've done a lot of things where I've changed the block shapes. So, like, you see how I can walk through this block shape? It's actually carpet, and I changed its block shape so that it is big and you can walk through it kind of like a bush. And so when you do that, you have to go through and put in carry icons that are item icons so that they're not using the full resolution texture. This is like a 5 meg file right now. It's not using that for the item. You can see right now my frame rate's great. I'll even turn on my frame rate counter. Right now my frame rate's great. Everything's fine. No problem. But if I hold the block of coal, just holding the item texture takes me to 10 frames a second, and that's just because I'm not using a compatible item texture. They don't have any optimization for this to be happening right now, and so you have to go in and just put in a carry texture, and that's what you're going to use for the item. So you can throw in a leaves carry, just duplicate this and put carry in, and then you would do a smaller compressed item version of it. And you can call that carry texture here. So the leaves have a special texture that's different than the HD texture. So when I pick it up, or this is another nightmare, it drops to the ground. So say this drops to the ground, that kills my performance too. If you get too many of these, the game will just go to 1 FPS or it'll crash. It won't even load. So to clear that, you can just delete so type equals item. Item is an entity, so you can just delete all of the items and then we're back to going. Once again, the way to solve that is to just add in a low definition carry texture. So you can see the same thing with the glow lynching. The texture's too big, it's too much for the game. There's no optimization there. So as soon as I'm not carrying it or holding it, then I don't have the problem anymore. And this only applies to HD textures. It doesn't apply to variants or anything else. It's only because I just have too high resolution files in there. So there you go. That's how to add in variants. It's pretty easy and simplistic to do. It adds a hell of a lot of wonderfulness to your map. It really can make everything pop and just give you such a beautiful variety that you're just missing in Minecraft. Having this single one texture Minecraft world is, in my opinion, abusive. It's just ridiculous. So I think it's critical that we get people putting in variants, adding in as much more options to it, and unsquare the textures as they can. You could do this pixelated as well. And then don't forget that this applies to all the blocks. So saplings, flowers, you could have 100 different flowers. You could have whatever you want. Now that you know how to do this variant option, you have the ability to change up all of these different things that you just couldn't do before. So get out there, make your leaves look better, get a lot more color in there. Play with the block shapes. You can see how I've changed a lot of my block shapes. Play with those. There's a lot of list of them. and see what you think. How does this change your world? How does it look different when you're out there building castles, when you can actually have textures and stuff that look good, and maybe you add in some damage, add in a damage texture, add in a corner that you could put in that's got some break marks in it, or missing a a rock or a block or something, to really bring the world forward and add that wow factor to how those textures pop and how those textures look. So get out there. If you have any more questions, let me know in the chat below. You could always get more help on the Discord channels for Blockbench, Bedrock, add-ons, and Bridge. As you see here, I'm using Bridge version 1. If there's any other guides you'd like, please put them in the comment, and I'll try to get them done. I'm doing 1 day a week on Minecraft stuff right now, so let me know. If you'd like to help support me, follow, like, do all that crap. It doesn't really help. You don't make any money on YouTube, but you could buy my games on Minecraft Marketplace, Dragonfire Bedrock Edition, and Dragonfire Nations. That would help out a lot. Or you could always check out my Patreon or my website, outlandishlycrafted.com. I'm CyberAxe, and this has been a how-to set up block variants for Minecraft Bedrock Edition. Thanks for watching.